Devil, my friend. Fashion. Things to wear. Possibly faces covered, but more importantly, covering up the bodies. Merch. We have that now. We are very, very excited to announce that Vampire and the Devil have partnered with our friends at Rockin' Horror Apparel. They are now taking care of the actual merch, the exclusive merch for the Vampire and Devil podcast, modeled by our very sexy devil right here.
Oh, yeah.
But we have all kinds of goodies to share with you.
Got the hoodies, we got some shirts, we got some tanks coming up, we got some booty shorts, we got all the stuff you want to wear from the Vampire and Devil podcast, thanks to Rockin' Horror.
Horns up, fangs out.
What's up there, ghouls and goblins, spooks and creeps, fangs and infernos? We got a fun one coming at you right now, and it's going to be a great conversation. This is one of our favorite associates, somebody who's been incredibly courteous to myself, the vampire, and of course, Devil there. We have brought in Harry Carpenter, owner, founder of FrightReads, book festival, horror con, film festival, and everything in between. First and foremost, Harry, thank you so much for your time, man. Again, thank you also so much for being incredibly courteous to Devil and myself, and it's a pleasure to have you on, man. Welcome to the Vampire and Devil podcast.
Yeah, man, anytime. I love having you guys at the event, and thank you for having me likewise on here.
Absolutely, man. Well, we'll jump right into it, of course. For all the Fangs and Infernos that are unfamiliar with FrightReads, fill us all in on exactly how FrightReads became a thing, because, of course, there's, horror cons, all over the country. That's not an uncommon concept, but there's very few, if even a handful, of horror cons that are specifically for authors and book writers, and that's something that we always found incredibly appealing and also very cool about your event. So what was it about horror novels, and I know this ties into you personally, but what is it about horror novels that really made you want to put that on the front?
So you asked about the origins of the event. I always tell everybody it started out of spite. I applied to be at a horror book festival, quite literally what FrightReads became. I applied to it and they said, "We're sorry, you're not a good fit." And I clutched my pearls and I said, "How? I have a book about a serial killer. How is this not?" So instead of just being like, "Oh, okay," as the Michael Jordan meme goes, and I took that personally. I was mad about it. I think I sat on that. That was like 2017, 2018. And I just kind of sat on that and that anger. And I was like, man, how do you not take me? And I was so mad about it. The event ended up happening and it was pretty much all like erotica. I was like, oh yeah, that'll do it. That'll do her. I can see why I'm not a good fit. Okay. That checks out. So I still had that, like, that intensity of that, like that anger, I guess. Still a little pissed off about it. So I was actually, I was talking to my friend Lauren and we came up with the idea together. I was like, I want a place that I can sell my books. And I said, cause I do a couple of book fairs and things like that. And I'm the odd duck. You have all of these things that are, you have kids books. That's one thing. You have the grown-up books, and all the grown-up books, like fantasies, a little like, ooh, that's weird. And then you have a guy who's like, hey, do you like murder? I'm always the really odd duck out. And I said, man, I want to make a place that's where I can be. And I'm probably the mildest thing that's sold. That's more than likely what I'm going to get. I'm going to get some like splatter punk, some nasty, just gnarly stuff, alongside of the stuff that I wrote. So we started putting it together, and there was this little pandemic thing that happened. I don't know if everybody knows about that. Little lesser known events in world history. So I spent 2020 thinking and scheming and brainstorming, and just like, we actually visited 3 locations with masks on. And I think that was about the time that Lauren's health kind of went, and she was like, you have fun, kid. And I was just like, all right, I have no idea what I'm doing. Visited a few more locations. We had a venue that kind of bombed on us, and it just didn't take. They pulled out because of the pandemic. They said we're still not comfy with it, and this was like 2021. I was starting to actually like put things together, and we were supposed to happen in September. They pulled out on me last minute, and I started calling around and panicking. I couldn't get a hold of Benfield, so we ended up in the basement of a community center. So ended up in the basement of the community center, did that, and that was that. And we started there with all of 20 authors, vendors, a little combination of. We had everything from, well, we had a manga, we had hard fantasy, like, and that pretty much set the stage for some of the rebranding that happened this year. Everybody still calls it a horror book festival. It is a Halloween book festival because you can be anything on Halloween. You can be a wizard, you can be a dragon, you can be Super Mario. I don't care. Whatever floats your boat. It's a little of everything. So if you look now, like there are still a ton of horror book events that exist. Like there's Books and Brews that exists. That's in a brewery, and people can go drink and buy their books. What a great concept. I'm all in for that idea, but like it became this bigger thing. So now you'll go there and you'll see if you're a person that does, it's too gross. Do you like Lord of the Rings? I got a guy for you. Do you like Blade Runner? I got a guy for you. You know, like it depends on what you're into. It's everything. There's nothing really off the table. Shoot, we had you guys were there last year. Did you see it was the monks?
Yeah.
that was a weird thing. But they were insistent, and I said, I don't know if you're the right vibe, but hey, if you wanna talk about the metaphysical and spiritual world, and that kinda sorta makes its way in, but I still don't think you're gonna be a good vibe. They were insistent, and they showed up, did their thing, and everybody went, huh, there's some monks over there. Like, yeah, man, welcome to FrightReads. And that's kind of how it came to be.
No,
Yeah.
And I mean, you guys also had like the costume contest and stuff like that, which was
that was all new. That everything that you saw this past one,
Mhm.
a bunch of that was new. The costume contest was brand new. We did the creative writing showcase, where we had a bunch of just, you know, like your friend D came up and read his thing. He read an excerpt of one of his stories, and it's just this different stuff that we try to do. We try to do other things that aren't what you find at like a Baltimore Comic Con or, you know, an Awesome Con, all these big, you know, AAA cons. Even the indie cons, the little guys, what do they do? I don't want to do that. I want to do this thing. But the costume contest was something that everybody kind of was just like, you should have a costume contest. And I was like, all right, I guess. We already had our weapons check ramped up something fierce when we had Ari Lehman, first Jason.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody was... It's on the website. It says, if you are planning to have a machete signed, please register here. And when you come to the front desk, we need a copy of your ID. And that's it. And we'll escort you to Ari. And then we will safely escort you back out. No other con allows machetes anymore because of safety reasons. We found a workaround. I had 2 retired police officers that were going to walk you to Jason Voorhees, get it scribbled on, take your photo, whatever you needed to do, and then turn around and walk back, pop it in the trunk of your car, and then come back and enjoy our event.
Yeah.
Too easy. However, we saw so many backpacks with this little like thing hanging out the side of it, and we were just on top of it. So because of that, with the costume contest, I was like, some ding dong's gonna bring in something real. Be on top of it. So I had 2 like really good cosplayers and a retired cop all hanging out at the front, and they were kind of checking everything. So it helps. I mean, just trying to do what we can. But the costume contest was a knockout. We had so many cool costumes. We had just the wildest stuff coming through. The father-daughter combo of Art the Clown and the Devil Girl. Oh my god! Like some of that stuff was just There was a girl that met the fairy godmother. She was dressed up as Audrey too.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, like who thinks of like that's a kid, dude? That's a movie that's older than me, I think. Not really. But
Our friend Kid Dreadful actually filled in as one of the
yes,
judges.
she didn't fill in. She was asked to be one.
Oh, she was asked to be a part of it. I thought for some reason.
Indeed.
Yeah,
No.
sorry. Yeah, Devil, correct me if I'm wrong, which obviously I am. For some reason, I thought she kind of filled in as one of the judges, but that's awesome
No,
that she got picked outright.
No, for the grown-ups, we had a lot
Yeah.
of fill-ins. But
That's probably where.
so for the kids win, she was actually the featured judge because I was like, you already won. You don't get to be on that side. Get on the other side of the table. So everybody loved her. I think she was like spooky Ronald McDonald or something that day. She's fantastic. Talented kid, man. Talented kid. I was actually talking to her parents about trying to bring her down for halfway to Halloween.
Okay.
And she's like, they're like, it's an abandoned mall, and I was like,
Pretty much.
abandoned? No.
I mean,
Empty?
it's
Yes.
pretty dead. It's a pretty
Empty?
dead mall.
Yes. Abandoned? No. It's not
Yeah.
desolate. It's not a private property situation. You know, we're breaking in and holding an event. It's an active mall.
Yeah.
I should say active
Yeah,
mall.
active and very, very actively.
But yeah, we were working on bringing her down for that. So that way she's like, would we be able to use like the back room for like spooky photo shoot? And I was like, I don't care. We have to go in and out of the back door anyway. If you take a little longer getting through it, I mean,
Dude, the amount of times that Devil has shot her at various cons that we've all been to, because we've known, Kid and her parents for many years now. Like we're a little tight-knit little, well, whatever you would call a five-piece. We're a tight-knit little group between the five of us. But the amount of times that like we've whisked Kid away so that Devil and her can have like a photo shoot, whether it was at one con against just a white wall that would be a great background or a different area for something like that. We've had so many different experiences with that, which I definitely their family means the world to us. We've seen them at shows, like they're big fans of like bands like Cold and Dope and stuff like that.
Right?
So we love talking music with those guys as well.
Same.
One more. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Devil.
I would say with her though, since we're talking about Kid, I love the fact that like that last one you brought in Roach, Sean Whalen, and he he had her fairy tale tooth fairy thing and was like, hey, will you pretend like you're pulling my teeth out and like we did like a little impromptu photo shoot, which I thought was just funny because it was just a celebrity artist that wanted to do that,
and my photographer happened to be right there.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, I was like, Harry, have you seen those photos yet?
No, Lindsay's on it. She gets me that stuff in like within a week. She's a knockout photographer, and she'll even pull out one. She'll be like, I liked this one. And that was one of them that she thought was really cool. She goes, this guy was really neat. And I was like, oh, Sean, wow. Like if I got down there, you'd have to help me back up, but good on him.
Well, I thought that was a cool little thing, with Sean too, because he was also obviously there for your little, people under the stairs little mini reunion that you had, but he was also there to plug his new movie Crust, which was really cool that you kind of tied that together with him, and us being able to do that premiere, dude. I love that movie. That movie was great.
Oh yeah,
awesome, dude. That was completely copy of that thing already on my shelf, man. As soon as that thing was released, I was like, in the Amazon cart, here's some money, send it.
Yeah, so that was separate from like the dealings behind the scenes, because whenever you deal with just the celebrities and their agents, it's literally just like, how long will they be there and what are they required to do, X, Y, Z, and that's it. All that extra stuff, that's literally just extra fluff. Anything that I do different, anything I do extra, like the different stupid memes that I was putting together, like he's dead, Leroy, he didn't get tickets for FrightReads, all that stuff. They loved that I put together all these different like specialized memes to like kind of hype it up. And like I did the same thing for Patty. If you saw her promo, it was like, you want a ticket, things like that, just trying to play off of like that. Want a date? But yeah, with Sean, he was like, he actually texted me and he was like, "Hey man, it's Sean Whalen," and I was like, "It's Sean Whalen on my phone." So now I have Roach on my phone, which is great. But yeah, he's like, "I have a movie coming out."
Sorry, Harry. For the record, is that what his name is in your phone?
What do I have him officially as? Let's see. Just I usually put like whatever character or job that I know them from. With the Mr. Dante is in my phone. Let's see here. I have Mr. Dante. Let's see here. What do I have him in there as?
Which, if everybody doesn't know, that's Brian O'Halloran from The Clerks.
Yep. Yeah, he's in my phone as Mr. Dante. Leon Kennedy, or Leon S. Kennedy, is in my phone. Let's see here. Yeah, Roach. And it's a picture of him as Roach, not a current photo. It's the photo from like 30 years ago.
Nice.
Like when he's like popping out of the thing with the teeth and the whole like just disheveled looking. That's the photo when he texts or calls. It's great. But he hit me up and he's like, "Hey man," he's like, "Is now a good time to call?" I was in the middle of holding our FrightReads book club, and I was like, "Hold that thought on the discussion. I'm going to step off to the side. The guy from Twister's calling me." So I pick up and dude, he's like, "Yeah. Would you be cool plugging the movie?" And I was like, "I'm 100% hyped for Crust anyway. Twist my arm." So we ended up doing that, and then I plugged his movie premiere, and if anybody, he was like, "If you buy tickets for FrightReads, there's discounts or stuff." I was like, "Don't even worry about that, man. They're going to be fans. They're going to come out to you." I was like, "You're donating the proceeds to charity. You're hitting two things. One, you're a cool dude, and two, it's going for charity. They'll absolutely take care of you. It'll be fine." And I think he sold out, if I'm not mistaken.
It was a pretty
or at least pretty close.
Pretty close. Yeah, it was a lot of people there.
It was so funny, dude, because like we talked off the air, like, you know, Mrs. Vamp was there with us, and the funny thing is, she knows people under the stairs. She knows who Sean Whalen is. The funny thing is, though, she's a huge Twister fan, but didn't connect the dots that he was in Twister. And when she found out about that recently, she was
just
like,
have him say,
"The guy was in Twister?" I fucking love that movie. And so I'm all ready, and she's not currently present in the room. So I was like, I want to reach out to Sean and be like, "Let me know what I need to do, how I need to connect with you, but please send me a signed photo so I can give it to her, like, secretly and stuff like that." So, anyway, but that was actually really, really fun because Devil will tell you, like, both of us are. We're big Rob Zombie people, and, you know, 3 from Hell is my current little pet project, my big poster that anytime various cons happen, you know, if a 3 from Hell person shows up, that's what I want them to sign. Unless they're in something that is very dear to me, that's obviously the direction that I have to go. But finding out later, and I felt so bad that she didn't know this. I didn't realize she was such a fan of Twister, or I would have said something then. But it was so funny to find out that she's a Twister fan. But now that gives me something fun to kind of do on the outside of, you know, make it look like the good husband move and stuff like that.
Oh, absolutely. But
Devil, I'm going to kick it over to you, man, after this like final thing from me real quick in this segment. Harry, when it comes to FrightReads and it comes to your con, you know, obviously it's very tailored to authors just like yourself. But when it does come to celebrities or people to enhance your event, how do you look at who you want to bring in? You mentioned off the air, of course, there are various cons that bring in the popular this or the popular movie or certain cast members that are associated with this thing or the other thing. What is it that you like to look for and who you like to bring into the event? Because to be honest, and I know it seems to the Fangs and Infernos that are watching this, they probably thinking, well, it's easy for you to say that to him. You're looking at him right now. True. But something like People Under the Stairs, which is a great movie. Devil and I discussed it on one of our showdowns for Father's Day. So we went in depth on that movie. And that was such a cool reunion for you to do. But anyway, getting back on point, when you're putting together the people that you want to be available for your fans, how do you look at that?
So, like you said, the cons in the area, like I do it after every event. My post wrap up is, who would you like to see this year? And I think my big three that I usually see more often than not are David Howard Thornton. I see Matthew Lillard all the time. God, I would love to have Shaggy at my event. Nothing but Matthew Lillard. And I would run with a different angle, because then I would try to get Sarah Michelle Gellar and Freddie Prinze Jr. and have the Scooby Gang instead of Scream, but that's just me. But like that's another big hit one. And then Freddy Krueger, Robert Englund. Those are the three big ones that constantly get thrown back into the mixer. And the problem with those three in particular, there is like 3 or 4 cons within respectable driving distance that always cycle through these guys. If they're not at Steel City, they're at Fan Expo, or they're at Monster Mania, or they're whatever, was it Tidewater Horror Con? Like they're within a 3 to 4 hour range, and they're always cycling through. And I'm just like, well, if I throw my hat in the ring and bring in Matthew Lillard, in 5 or 6 months, he's going to be at, Exhibit X. So I kind of look at me and some of my staff and some friends. I'm like, dude, who would you want to have here? Who would be pretty cool to hang out with? What's that dream, like, bucket list? Check the box. So for me, we had just finished Clerks 3. And it's been 3 years, right? Like 2 or 3 years since the movie came out.
Yeah.
One of the main characters dies. I don't want to spoil it for people, but he dies. And I've only cried during like 4 movies, and that's number 4.
Yeah, that was definitely a tearjerker.
That was a tearjerker, dude.
And
Mrs.
just the
Vamp
way it
hasn't
was
even
done.
seen that movie yet, and she's like, "Babe, is it really that sad?" I'm like,
Yeah.
"Yes."
Somebody was cutting onions in the theater. There was a lot of dust in the vents. A lot of things. Allergies were really, really acting up at that exact ending of the movie, right there at the end moment. And I literally at that moment I went, I got to book Mr. Dante. And I was like, how do I get Dante? And I reached out to his people. So I'm friends with Ming Chen. So I went through that avenue. And I was like, Ming, who are your people? Because I know that y'all are with the same people. So I go through the channels and snake my way through. And they had me, by the end of everything, I had O'Halloran, who I was just like, this guy is the guy that I want to meet.
Yeah.
We had Scott Schiaffo, who was the Chulies gum rep.
Oh, nice.
This is a human lung.
This is what your lung looks like.
So we had him because they were like, yeah, Scott would love to come down. He'll ride with O'Halloran. And I was like, okay. So they're gonna like kind of carpool and come on down. That's cool. Ming said I'm in, and we had those guys. And then my wife loves the character of Elias.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I was just like, well, I'm gonna have to book him. So
Trevor.
I loved Trevor. He's such a nice guy, and he's just a really like down to earth dude. So all 4 of them, that was I'd say Ryan had some sway, but like that was me. I was just like, yes. And then Linnea Quigley, because I loved Return of the Living Dead and all of that. So I had Linnea, and I had been friends with Ari for many years prior. So I was just like, bring first Jason. Maybe we can knock out a little concert. Let's see how that looks in the back end. Like, what does it look like for FrightReads to run a concert? Like a whole ass rock concert. And we had that. And then another passion is, Ghostbusters. I like it just a little bit. I got Stay Puft the Marshmallow Man. So sure. I may be interested a little bit in Ghostbusters. So I got Billy Bryan, who is a fantastic special effects wizard. He came down. I mean, we just knocked it out of the park. And then each subsequent year, I was a fan of Sean Whalen, because I was even telling him, I was like, Tammy and the T-Rex. And he's just like, please don't say those words. And I'm bringing up other movies that, are forgotten and
Oh
unthought
yeah,
of.
we talked to him about jury duty. He was like, "Oh
Yes.
my god."
Yes. And he's just like, oh, and I was like, employee of the month. Because I
Yeah.
had to tell my wife, I was like, dude, he was an employee of the month. She's like, who was he? And I was like, he was the ass man, the assistant manager.
Yeah.
So we got talking about that, and then the only reason that I got all of the people under the stairs was because I was interested in booking Sean, and then Donna Jean. I don't know if you've met her in your travels across the horror events, but Donna Jean is she's a little celebrity of her own. She's just the nicest person in the world, and that's her claim to fame, just being an awesome person. She said, "Hey, my friend Bill just had a big thing erupt with an event that he was doing in the Midwest or something. Basically, that conned everybody and took the money and ran.
Wow.
And he had been hyping it up and advertising it, and then he felt really guilty, like I took their money, I helped facilitate this. So he was kind of feeling bad, and she asked if I would be interested in bringing him on, and I'm just like, my first reaction is like, who the hell is Bill Perry? Like, I don't know that name. Like, I'm drawing a blank, and I'm like racking my brain. Like, I'm pretty good with 80s and 90s people. And like, I looked him up, and I was like, so this dude's been in Predator, he's been in Home Alone, he's been in Nightmare on Elm Street. I should know his face. Well, I don't know his face because he's a stuntman. I know his shoulder, I know his back, I know what his feet look like, everything else but his face. So yeah, I ended up I emailed him, and he was just such a nice guy, and I was like, I'd love to have you on board, but I want to make it make sense. I've been circling around trying to get Sean Whalen, so let me pull the trigger. And when all the pieces are in play, if you're a yes, I'll hold you on standby. Hit up Sean. Sean's people said yes. However, we want to make it a giant reunion. Would you be interested in Brandon and the gang? And I was like, well, would I like Brandon and Jan? And I was like, yes, because Brandon checks the Mighty Ducks and Sandlot box for me also.
Dude, totally.
Around the corner is Wendy Peppercorn, a giant like 11 by 17 signed by her. And I was like, yep, Sandlot's where it's at for me. Then he said, do you want the fairy godmother? And I was like, yeah, that's going to be a hot ticket. Like that was literally me kind of selling out and like, who's hot right now? Let's get that person. But normally it's just people that I'm like really interested and invested in. Nice. I was genuinely wanting to see Sean. I genuinely wanted to see that. It's kind of the same thing with the authors too. I want to find somebody that's popular. I don't want to just have like all my friends there and they bring in one person at best. But I want to have like the big popular knockout New York Times bestseller types. But I pick people that I think have some cool friggin' books too. Yeah. So it's really just kind of me, Ryan, Steve that was doing the security work. A couple of us kind of sit around and go, who'd be cool? They're twisting my arm to try to get somebody from Buffy. And I was like,
you'll get
rough.
No argument from the vampire, bro.
You'll get no argument from me either, except I just need to find the funds.
Kristen Swanson, baby.
Any of them, really. At any of the Slayers. The Gentleman would probably be the easiest for me to snag, except for Doug, because I already know what he costs.
No, for sure. And
he's
Devil, let
big
me
dollar.
You, brother, but forgive me because I got one thing real quick in this segment again to ask Harry because it triggered me on something. Okay. With Devil, with you and I doing music as long as we've been doing it. Harry, let me ask you a question. When it comes to like bands touring, Devil and I are very familiar with what's called the radius clause when it comes to talent and bands playing in areas close to other areas.
It's the same thing. Yeah.
If you're talking about that, what I want to ask you, does that clause exist in cons?
Yes. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. Kind of like with the band. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. It depends on the band. But I would say generally speaking, yes. If I had Sean Whalen at my event, then Baltimore Comic Con can't have him the following month or, like 3 weeks later, however long they are from mine. 2-3 weeks later, he can't be like, featuring this person, because it would be a huge conflict of interest, and obviously people would flock to the bigger event, and it's kind of a dick move to do the little guy. And it creates a lot of bad blood and animosity. Not to say that people don't do it or it doesn't exist in the agreements for some people. Like, Christ, Ari will be at a show and then he'll play at a bar like 5 blocks away the next day. Like, it's not going to stop him. If it's a show and he can rock out, he's going to do it. But generally speaking, yes, everybody does they try to space it out. And I also try to pick people that we don't see around here. So that really does help. The only one that I see that gets kind of the deep cut people that I get is Creature Feature up there in Gettysburg. They get some of the super deep cut, like the killer clowns and stuff. That's the only one that I worry about. Yeah, I plan to go up there. It's my birthday next week, so I'm going to try to shoot up there on Saturday, come back down, and birthday. So hopefully I have enough time.
Oh, killer, dude. We'll be there on Sunday ourselves. It just worked best for our schedules and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But, of course, the fact that they've got Fright Night people, super nerd, gotta be a thing. But there's definitely cool things that Devil and I are interested in. Devil, my friend, I appreciate you as always. Take it away.
First thing I'm going to ask is, it might be a little controversial because I know sometimes people don't like spilling the tea.
Hot take.
Is your last name legitimately Carpenter? Because I know you always have the kick-ass jersey that says Carpenter and it's all bloody and it's cool as shit, but everybody knows John Carpenter. So I was like, dude, if his last name is legitimately Carpenter, he's got one of the coolest last names ever.
And I never thought it was a cool last name.
So yes.
But no, so a lot of people say, are you related to John Carpenter? And I'm like, yes. Yeah, I have a cousin named Jonathan. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So the answer is yes. And Charisma Carpenter, she's my second cousin, twice removed. Jennifer Carpenter, she's a fully removed cousin. I have no relation to any of the important Carpenters. So I didn't know that it was a name of people. Obviously, John Carpenter or whatnot, I knew, but like in the literary world, I should have come up with a pen name, because the Carpenter name hasn't done squat for me in terms of anything. They're not like, oh, maybe he's related to so and so. I keep having a confrontation with another Harry Carpenter, which I never dreamed of the day unless it was going to be like my dad. I never dreamed that would be a confrontation. I'm like, how many Harry Carpenters are there out there? Apparently, at least 3 in the literary world. There's a Harry W. Carpenter, and then there's a Harry Carpenter, like a sports commentator from like the 50s. And he wrote a bunch of like sports ball books, like boxing and hockey and football and whatnot. And you look me up, and you got to weed through the 3 of us to find me. But I'm the only one with the murdery stuff.
Yeah. So maybe he wrote that the almanac from Back to the Future or something like that.
Yeah. But yeah, it's I'm not related to them, but yes, that is my name.
I just think it's cool because, like I said, when you see, like I said, you see you at cons and stuff like that with that jersey, it just looks cool because it's got the Carpenter and the blood, and I'm like, well, that's just cool in 2 ways because people were, like I said, with your real name, and then people associating, like I said, John Carpenter, and I'm like, I'm like that's almost like a win-win. But another thing I want to talk about too, like I said, we're gonna keep it kind of light, but I like digging into the deepness and darkness. You were talking about, you're talking about, that con that we're not going to name in the beginning that, was selling the erotica and kind of keeping you out, which kind of pushed you to be like that. I remember, when 2023 came out, you were looking at a venue before Benville. We're not going to mention the place, but I thought it was kind of funny that I read on something that they didn't want you to be there because you were a horror comic, horror books and horror stuff. And which was crazy because this place has rock and rollers and everything else have done everything that's bad in the world in real life. These guys have done drugs, sex, and rock and roll,
probably in their hotel.
But yet fake fiction is apparently too scary and taboo.
Yeah, a bunch of people in polo shirts that write gross books is much worse. If you ever looked at like a sea of authors, there's like 3 that dress, I'm gonna say weird. Like J.A. Barrios, dude wears like I call him like the dark wizard because he's got like this like cloak on and everything, and he's got this wild poofy hair and this big thick giant like Rasputin looking beard. Dude looks like a dark wizard from D&D. But outside of that, like most of everybody just wears like a t-shirt, sweater, stuff like that. So it was funny because when I had locked in that deal, we were headed down that road, and I can't thank Benfield enough for coming in clutch. But it started like we had signed the contracts and everything before the new year. Everything was ready to rock and roll. By February, I was getting some vibes, and they were like, "Oh, we see that there's this thing that's at your event. We don't think we can allow that." And I was like, "Oh, well, it's a costume contest." And that was the first thing they tried to nix. And I said, "Well, what's the issue with the costumes?" "Well, we can't have people wearing costumes in our hotel." And I was like, "Not true, because I've seen the Fairy Festival, and I know they dress up and they leave. They don't get dressed in their car." So they tried to hit that first, and then they tried to ding me on. I think the next subsequent email was, we weren't aware that this was going to be a horror event. And I was like, your contract you sent me says horror convention.pdf. This isn't a shock to you guys. So I said, how about what if I come in and we talk about it? And I had a little sit down with them in February, and I didn't feel cozy with it. And then by early March, another convention had the rug pulled out from under them by another hotel. And I was just like, man, I am right behind you. I know it's coming. Like they're trying to drop all the crumbs that they can to be like, they were giving me the equivalent of like, well, it's about that time. They kept saying "welp" and slapping their knees quite often in the emails. So I was like, they're hinting that they want me out of here and they're trying to breach the contract. So the next thing that they said was I couldn't have tattooed people inside. And I was like, I guess I'll be outside.
Yeah.
You guys can report from the glass window. Like, we're reporting to you live from outside. What am I going to do? Get a walkie-talkie, and then the one staff member I have without tattoos, hopefully, can be like, I am overwhelmed. You're doing great. You're doing great. Like, what am I supposed to do? So that was mid-March. By the end of March, I told him, I said, hey, I want to actually get a sit-down meeting and clear the air. Let's work this out. And instead of, sure, how does Tuesday sound? They said, we understand your decision, and we're more than willing to accommodate. As of now, per your request, the contract is terminated. You will pay the early termination fee, and we're going to keep what you've paid already. And I just kind of went, wait, what? I said, I never said I was terminating. I said, let's just sit down like grown-ups and talk. And you said, well, we're sorry you feel that way, and pulled the trigger and everything. So I told him, I said, no, I said, you're canceling. I don't think I should get early term fees and all this other stuff. I had to go to the lawyer phase. And that's the stuff that I kept off of the Facebook, except for the like, hey, I wanted to wait until I had Benfield for sure. And I had Benfield, and I came forward and I said, hey, listen, this is the entire dumpster fire I've been riding for the past like 3 weeks. However, at the end of the day, we're back at Benfield. It kind of sucks. It took the wind out of my sails, but I know it's going to work. Scramble, put together a floor plan that was infinitely better than past floor plans. I was able to maximize the space and worked with it, but my God, I could have done without all of that. I could have just stayed at Benfield and saved a lot of money in the long run.
Yeah. And then, talk about, as we're talking about with Benfield and stuff like that, you talk, the new one that's going to be coming up. You have the halfway at the Marley station. And then you also have the FrightReads in September. You guys move to a bigger badder venue. You guys got to the Howard County Fairgrounds. Talk about how, you've kind of moved up as far as going from, from Benfield to that. Talk about, how excited you are trying this new location.
I wouldn't use the word excited. I'm more of just like, please work out. Please work out. I hope this all goes so well that we just keep doing this year after year. There's that comfortable feeling at Benfield. I can walk into their office. I walk into the sports center. I knew the staff. I'd just be like, hey, what's up? It's cool if I get like 3 measurements, and they go, whatever. And that was it. It was just like this familiarity. With the fairgrounds, I'm starting over again. I have brand new people. And the thing with the fairgrounds is they're not always there. They probably work remotely or wherever they're out of and show up during event times or to prep the building, whatever they need to do. They're not on site Monday through Friday, that kind of thing. So there's a whole different beast. There's a whole different angle I'm having to learn with it. But I'm hoping, fingers crossed, everything that I'm doing now, all the stress of just like, please work, please work, please work, manages to work out to the point that we end up with almost 7 times the amount of space that we had in Benfield. That sounds extremely excessive and way too much, but cost-wise, stuff worked out. It was solid. I was like, you know what? I think I can make this work, and we worked out some good prices for all of our vendors. I mean, it's $175 for a table for a weekend. That's not terrible. I also vend, so I try to keep everything reasonable. And as long as I can kind of really just break even, I don't want to get screwed, but I'm also not trying to screw people. As long as I can kind of break even and it just covers the operating costs, I'm golden. So that's kind of where we're at here with the fall show up at the fairgrounds. We're going to do a similar setup, but what I do know is because I have the bigger space and different capabilities, I'm going to have inside the building the Jurassic Park Jeep, the Back to the Future DeLorean, and the Ecto 1 all set up inside. So I'm excited to have that. And I know that the Charm City Ghostbusters are doing something bigger than they've done before. They booked out a 30 by 35 amount of space, which normally they have like a 10 feet by 20. Like a 10 by 20 is usually what they work with. It's a couple of folding tables, and then they have some backdrops. They got a big box of space, so I know something wild is coming our way. So I'm excited with all the new things that we get to do, and I can get more creative with the space. I can maybe like do little islands in the middle, and if like Cemetery Dance wants to set up like a little island and they have like a bunch of tables around them, great. The indie bookstores want to do something like that. I have that freedom now that I couldn't do with Benfield, because as you saw, it was literally just the perimeter and then rows in the middle, and I can't really get too creative with that space.
Yeah. And like you were talking about with the prior events and stuff like that. And I know obviously you can't spoil the tea, you can't, spill the tea and do all that kind of stuff. But I know you've been kind of cognizant with a lot of your cons every year having that somewhat of a reunion. You talked about the Clerks 3 guys you had. You had the, People Under the Stairs kind of one. Is there a possibility of a small mini reunion that you're trying for this new one in September?
Honestly, if it's the thing is, it's a 2-parter. I would love to have a reunion type of thing, but I also need it to be in the budget. Sean Gunn would be absolutely a fantastic get, because then we're going to do the Tromeo and Juliet.
Yeah.
And then there's your reunion, but he's going to be the Gunn money.
Well, yeah.
He's going to be that Disney cost. So realistically, great guy, came from humble origins, but is now on that Disney level. So I haven't actively inquired, but I'm pretty sure he would set the price tag pretty high. But also, he seems like a pretty cool dude. Yeah. I tried to actually pull together a Broken Lizard reunion. As you saw, Eric Stolhansky was the name that shot through, which is awesome. I mean, we're gonna have the rookie. I'm committed to the idea, and I have to remember to do it in September and get the resources together. He can just moderate, and it's just going to be me and another staff member that's just as stupid as I am, and we're going to chug some syrup.
Oh, nice.
Literally me and another stupid victim, somebody that doesn't care, and we're just going to pound a bottle of syrup in competition. Then I'm going to be ill the entire weekend. No regrets. But I did try to get a couple of them, and I'm going to circle back. Just giving it some time. The wildfires just kind of knocked that all out, and names were just dropping off. Like, dude, I would love to, but no. Like, it's of interest. I'd love to go out with the other guys, but no. I got to stay here and deal with my house, deal with the family, deal with this, and it's valid. It's completely legit, but it's just you get as the person putting all this together is just going. No, I wanted all of the Super Troopers. I wanted as many as I could get, but hey, the killer from Club Dread is more than plenty for me.
Yeah.
Well,
But it's more or less a 90s kind of. It's a 90s vibe right now, because I think pretty much everybody we have is either on the cusp of 1990, like 88, 89, or like hard 90s. But these are all like really good 90s vibes that I'm putting out this year. So I am kind of excited on like a totally 90s vibe.
Yeah, and then
Sure.
with the good. Yeah, I was gonna say with.
Oh, sorry, Devil. I was just gonna say, Harry. Yeah, like I told you in the emails, dude. Mrs. Vamp is a big Beer Fest Slam and Salmon fan.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
You got Eric from Beer Fest. You know, she was definitely stoked about
Slam
that.
and Salmon smile.
Slam and Salmon smile. So she's super stoked about that. Right
Das
back. To Devil.
But yeah, you were talking about
Boot.
everybody. You were talking about everybody wanting these big horror fans, the Robert Englunds and all that stuff like that. I mean, as far as you, I mean, this is a two-part question. I mean, in that kind of realm, is there anybody celebrity-wise that you would like to see, that you would hope to try to get to go there wise, and then like a dream wish, or even like people like I was talking about with the authors, everybody's going for the big names. Have you had a lot of people asking you bring in Stephen King?
Yes, I've had people ask me bring in Stephen King. I've had people ask me to bring in Edgar Allan Poe. When I learn necromancy, I will get on that. But realistically, I would have to say Stephen King is probably out. Like, no questions asked, dude's out. I don't know that he goes on these book tours anymore. Dude, he's Stephen friggin' King. He doesn't have to do these public appearances. He can, out of the kindness of his heart, because I know Clive Barker was hitting the circuits, and he's just as up there in age. All these guys that we grew up reading are up there in age. So it's not even that. It's just, I think it's just his interest level. If I was up in Maine, he'd probably come down the road and hang out. But for like the dream wish list people, it's not so much of a wish list for me. I have regrets because I wish I could just throw money at certain things and make them happen. But I would have loved to have had Paul Rubens, my favorite vampire.
I'm the biggest Pee Wee Herman fan.
Yeah,
and we got to at the one con we got to talk to V Nil, who was really close to Paul Rubens. So like I'm a huge Paul Rubens fan. So luckily I got to meet him and do a photo op with him. So I got that opportunity before he passed.
Yeah, but that was like one of those like dream bookings regrets situations. But yeah, I'm trying to find people that aren't oversaturated in the area. So, like, for example, like I mentioned Donna Jean earlier, being the absolute saint that she is, she knows people that knows people. She talks to people on a regular basis. She's a cancer survivor, so any celebrity that has had cancer, my God, they're just like inseparable. They're cancer buddies. That's the next best unity is being in the military together. Like that. There's not much more of a brotherhood than like a traumatic situation like cancer or a terrible disease that unites people. And she's become friends with a lot of different celebrities that share her similar struggle. And she's offered to me, like I said, she got me Bill Perry, and I loved him to death. And she just, met him through the circuit. But we've toyed with having Kane Hodder. We've toyed with, I think Bill Moseley was on the docket of a suggestion. Couple of the Dawn of the Dead guys, like the old school original, like Jim Crute and guys like that. The people just right outside in Pittsburgh, 3-4 hour drive tops. So there's people that are circulating around and kind of buzzing around of like, should we get them? But I also want to get people that I'd hate to get somebody that I have no idea who they are, because I also want to be that fan as well. I always want there to be something in it for me, because the second that it's just a business transaction is when I lose interest. So when I book the authors, when I initially reached out to I'll throw a name out there, Adam Caesar. When I initially reached out to him, I reached out to him in that business transaction mindset. I was like, dude's hot, and everybody keeps telling me like clown in a cornfield, clown in a cornfield. And I looked up Clown in a Cornfield, and it's won awards, and obviously it's getting a movie in May that's in theaters, in theaters, like a theatrical high-end release, and it looks nasty. It looks like that kid caught the bow through the eye in the trailer, and I was like, oh, that's cake compared to some of the other kills. But like seeing stuff like that now, I reached out to him and I was just like, I don't know if you'd be interested, but I got a local bookstore that would carry your books. And they said they'll do it, but you need to come down to the bookstore for a signing, which I thought sucked, because I was like, you're going to have Adam down here, and then in 3 months he's going to be down here again. You're going to steal some of the interest of having him. But it didn't stop him in the slightest. Ended up becoming really good friends with Adam. He's a really good dude. We read Clown in a Cornfield that month prior to FrightReads, and now since then I've read like 3 or 4 of his books. And the same goes for Jeff Strand. We read a short story by him, and I was like, who is this Jeff Strand, and why do I need to book him? And that's pretty much it. It's people that I'm a fan of, people that I respect their work. I don't ever want it to be just a business transaction where it's like, who's this guy? He seems pretty popular. Let's bring him in. I don't want to go by just the numbers. That does help me with the authors, but like for the celebrities, it's not just the numbers. It's just some actor or actress that I wanted to meet that was in a movie that I loved to death. That's pretty much what it comes down to. Or if I can make Ryan or Steve or one of my other staff just be like, dude, I just talked to Linnea Quigley and she said this, and like just seeing them like completely light up. And I'm just like, keep your cool. You're head of security. Calm down. You're at an 11. I'm going to need you at about a 3. I need you to, he's like, that's right, game face. But yeah, that's kind of how I do the booking. It's just people that, like I said, Matthew Lillard, absolutely, 100%. I'd book him for, I would love to somehow sucker in John Waters, and then I do a Serial Mom thing, because that's how deep cut I would go for Lillard. It's not the surface level. It's not Scooby-Doo. It's not Scream. I'm looking at Serial Mom, his first horror.
Yep.
Yeah. And I feel like, it's like you were talking about with the Stephen King avenue. I think the only plausible person you could probably get, and even then it'd be, a miracle, but I mean, like, would be his son, you know what I mean? Like, because how well he is. Especially because like, Stephen King,
Joe's not out of the cards though. Like, Joe Hill isn't out of the cards.
Yeah.
Because Cemetery Dance, I might be able to work that out with Richard Chismar. Because last year you saw, and I think he may be conned into coming again. Richard Chismar is he's written books with Stephen King, so he's in the inner circle. But I never want to just pull that card, be like, hey, do you think you can call your buddy Steve and have him come down? Like, I would love nothing more than to have just a video where he's sitting here like this and going, hey everybody, Stephen King here, you should go to FrightReads Book Festival. And that's it. And I'll use that every year. I don't care. I don't need him to say what year, what date or time or location. I just need you to say, go to FrightReads Book Festival, end scene.
Yeah. And then, the obvious question, just because it's staring right behind you and I can see it straight up. what are your thoughts about? I know how you talked about Ghostbusters being a
Yeah.
huge movie for you. What are your thoughts on bringing some of those actors? Obviously, the big name guys are going to be a little bit tougher, but like like a Ernie Hudson, or maybe a couple of the other smaller players in the both of franchises.
So what's fun about that is I had originally for 2 years ago, I had 3 Ghostbusters people. They were all the special effects team, basically behind the scenes types. They played other characters throughout the series, but like I had Tony Scoleri, one of the Scoleri brothers, one of the ones that was floating around in the courtroom. I
Oh,
had that
nice.
actor. I had Stay Puft the Marshmallow Man, and I had Slimer. Um, so I thought that was pretty cool. Due to personal issues and scheduling and stuff, I lost everybody but Stay Puft. Um, it's not a no from those guys, but you're asking a lot of these people, and they're coming out to this little book festival, and they're kind of looking at me going, books. Bill Perry was the only one that didn't go books. He's like, dude, I wrote 2 books. So he gave me 0 pushback, but I usually get like a book festival. Um, but Ernie, I've looked into, he's the problem is a lot of this stuff is out of pocket for me. And I don't ever want to put myself in a position where I have to pay all these guys out and, I want there to be a FrightReads 6.
Yeah.
That's kind of the goal, but Ernie's a little pricey. I would love to meet Ernie Hudson. I've met him in the past. His picture is somewhere around here, right up over there behind me. Actually, you can see the very bottom of his jumpsuit if you look right there. So he's the only Ghostbuster that I've ever met. I got to meet Podcast. He's really down to earth. He's cool. That may be the avenue that I take in the future.
Yeah, the newer generation.
I would love to have McKenna. I would love to have these guys in there. I would lose my mind if I could get Paul Rudd.
Oh, hell yeah.
He's not going to come to me.
Mrs.
I'm not
Vamp
San
would
Diego
love
Comic Con.
Yeah.
Mrs. Vamp would love that because she rides or dies with the Halloween franchise, and she has a poster that she's been getting filled up. So like Paul Rudd, from Halloween 6, that would be very, very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a nice throwback for him. But yeah, but I actually reached out when he came out with the Ant-Man book. I was like, you got a book now, sort of. Not really. But sell your fake Ant-Man book and come out here and sign autographs for Ghostbuster and everything else in between. But I didn't hear back from any of his.
When it comes to the Crow franchise, me being a big fan of that. So you talking about Ernie Hudson, I think that's absolutely awesome. And because I would definitely like to get him on my poster since that's like a passion project. But the one thing that it's cool that Devil will attest to is a recent con that we went to brought in Edward Furlong. And I'm a big fan of Detroit Rock City. I absolutely love that movie. I already had James DeBello, who Devil and I recently interviewed, and that was absolutely awesome. But I already had him his autograph on in 8x10 for Detroit Rock City, so I was excited to get Edward on there. But it had been rattling around in my brain, and then Devil also brought it up as well, where he's like, dude, your Crow poster, which I did because he was like, that's really the only Crow that you can get right now. And because obviously we lost Brandon. Bill Skarsgård is kind of an it man in Hollywood, so he's not really going to be on the con circuit right now.
Yeah.
But what brings me into that is, for what it's worth, because you had talked about talking to your staff about who they would love to talk to and stuff like that. I would love for Vincent Perez to come in because I really do love City of Angels. I think it's a very quality sequel to The Crow. I think they did make the effort. I think they tried. And I really do enjoy that movie. So I think Vincent Perez would be super duper cool, and it never seems like he does the con circuit.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing too, because there are dream bookings, but they may not do appearances. Or they may not actively be doing appearances. They may just stop doing appearances. Dude, I reach out to like the weirdest people that I'm just like, ooh, who'd be fun? Like I shot a message out to Mara Wilson. I was like, come on, Matilda, come hang out. I'm still waiting on a response, but hey, why not? I just want the info. You never
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
If I know roughly how much they're going to cost, then I can game plan for it. Like
Yeah.
I don't think we're like, because I'm trying a new venue and I'm trying a bunch of new stuff. We have more space, we have a bigger venue, it's in a new location. I don't want to throw everything into the fire at once.
Yeah.
I want
For
to kind of
sure.
let it, I want to kind of get this, new location to kind of marinate. And if
Mhm.
it takes, and if we're a hot ticket out there in Howard County, then fine, great.
Mhm.
then then that's when I can go, all right, it was a madhouse in there. We had, thousands of attendees. It was insane. Let's go ahead and book Doug Jones. Let's go ahead and book Ernie Hudson. Let's go
Yeah.
ahead and do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Then we can, you know, let's call Stephen King and see what he's doing.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
that's that's kind of where that would all like kind of unfold. So as long as everybody comes out this year, then I can make a really good educated guess how we'll do the following year
for sure.
and bring in bigger and better people. Maybe
Yeah.
I
somebody
mean,
from Buffy. I don't know.
yep. I mean, for
Yeah.
what it's worth, since we've been on the Crow topic,
Yeah.
Rochelle Davis, the skateboard girl from the first movie, she's been
Yeah,
doing the
yeah.
circuit again, so that
She
would
did,
lie.
yeah. I did
Yeah.
see her popping up.
Yeah, that's what's funny too, because you were talking about, people reading books, and that was kind of like the question I was gonna try to end with my part, at least with it. We were talking about that too at the con, as you being, a guy who runs this con, as Fright Reads, a book festival, stuff like that, and also an author. Do you find it hard for authors nowadays to kind of push books since it's such a digital world now, and everybody's got Kindles and shit like that?
No, it's all the same. So it's actually, I think it's a little easier. You just have to get out there. Like I just had an author contact me, and she was very upset that we're we're a several hour drive away from her, and that she would have to buy a
Oh,
table and sell her own books. And I was like, tough break. I mean, that's where you're at. Unless your name says Stephen King,
yeah.
that usually doesn't work out for you the way you think it's going to. But it's it's much easier because the internet. I think anybody that was writing in the 90s, early 2000s and further back, you had to really network. You probably had an easier time with your publishing and getting known. Like in the early Stephen King era, it was probably easier because it wasn't oversaturated, because Amazon's got 10 billion books out there and you're trying to find the one guy that's good. Um, Whereas, on that same token, the internet does provide. It gives you a database of local events you could sell at. You can do all these different things. You can network and join groups, horror writers of Maryland or something, and find anybody in Maryland, Pennsylvania spooky authors, whatever the event is. I don't know what the groups are called, but like, if you join any of these groups that are local to your area, you can network, and then they might tell you about an event. That's how I find out about half the stuff I do, because they're like, hey dude, you gonna go do this? Like, what the hell is that? Never heard of it before. And there I am. I go to the website, I apply, I throw money at the problem, and then I show up and sell my books. That's literally the step for just about any author. I think it's I don't think it's harder, but I think it has to be the right environment,
Sure.
because it has been hit or miss for a lot of authors at big events. Like I do stuff like I'm all over the place. I don't care if they'll have me. I'll do it. Farpoint Comic Con. It's a sci-fi con. It's very Trekky. It's I don't run anything Trekky. Um, but I go there. Why not? Let's give it a whirl. And then there will be that one person that's there with their girlfriend, boyfriend, wife, husband, whatever, their sister, cousin. That's just a huge Trekkie, and they're like, man, I wish there was more horror around here. And then they see me, and then they just like. So you never know where your audience is, but it's definitely it's give and take. Yes, the internet exists. Yes, I can just get a Kindle book, but how do you know about my Kindle book? How do you know about my audiobook? You're not searching for my book. You're not looking for me as an author specifically. So how do you find out about me? You go to the book festival. You go to Comic-Con and you see this author in the corner selling his books at Monster Mania, and you go, all right, this guy seems all right. He's got a bunch of butcher knives around and seems like my vibe. That's how you get noticed. That's how you get found. And I mean, I think FrightReads puts a pretty good show together with the panels of how to be an author. Author 101. We talk about how to start writing all the way up to how do I sell these books. And there's all this stuff in between. You got to really focus on once you've made the book, the success comes from, the final part. You have steel underpants, ? And then profit. How do we get to profit? That's kind of where it comes in. You want to make sure that you're marketing yourself. I don't think it's harder to sell today. I think there's an oversaturation. Yes, you can get overstimulated. My God, if I see another author like almost dive over their table, anyway, this book is about da 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 da. Please listen to my book. And I just want to like throw a stick between their legs and be like, stop, leave them alone. You're done. They told you no, walk away. Accept your loss. Wait for the next one. But don't be too aggressive, but don't be afraid to say hi and approach people. Give away free crap. Bookmarks are super inexpensive. So are stickers. Little stuff like that. Just putting yourself out there. What is your brand? What is your gimmick? How the hell do I sell books at my festival when I'm not even at my own table?
Funny you should bring that up, Harry, and I'm sorry to jump in, but
you're good.
Actually my next question real quick as we kind of circle back around with everything, because, Devin and I don't want to eat up too much of your time this evening because you've been absolutely gracious with it, is as the founder of FrightReads, and I can speak for myself, and I'm sure to Devil is a certain amount. Are your books themselves also available at the con, your own con at FrightReads? Because I would love to get one of your books and give it a read, not only just as a fan. Mrs. Vamp and I are also big serial killer people, so man. I would love to get my hands on one of your books regardless anyway. But do you make yourself available at your own festival, being that you are the founder of it and have so much else going on?
So I pre-sign at least 3 or 4 of each title, because I know, let's be honest, I may not see my table ever again. So what I end up doing is I'll pre-sign like 2 or 3 of them. When that runs out, they try to radio me, and I'll try to come over there and scribble into them. If people want it personalized, same thing. They radio me, and I try to get over there. But I've had people at a lot of events. I'm never behind my table. That's the joke. Ask the Charm City Ghostbusters how often I'm behind my own table. They saw me at StellarCon a couple of weeks ago, and that was because it was so packed in the actual vendor room. I didn't go down there. I was behind my table, and they were like, "It's gonna snow, isn't it?" Harry's behind his table. But FrightReads is a different beast because I'm running the show.
Right.
But I try to make it a point to get back and see people, but the books still sell without me even being there. Mm-hmm. My favorite thing is I overheard a few of Ryan's sales pitches, because he'll run the AV, and I'll put my table in the worst place, which is right next to the speakers. Nobody wants to be there. So I'll be there, and Ryan's already back there fiddling with the knobs anyway. Why not hustle some of my books while you're at it? If I make a couple of bucks on books, I make a couple of bucks on books. Great. But yeah, he'll pitch my books to people, and he'll just be like, this book it's red, and there's a bird on it, and that means it's going to be scary because the bird is probably in the story. And I'm just like, oh my God, shut up. That has nothing to do with anything. You're selling literally selling a book on its cover, but people will still buy that stuff up. But it's funny because I try to be active and get these things signed, and I had some lady came up to me, and she's like, "You," and I was like, "Are you the cops?" And she's like, "I've been trying to find you. They said find the guy in the bloody jersey with his name on it." And I was like, "I love this jersey." I literally bought that off of there was a Facebook ad that said custom jerseys, and it had the bloody one. but it wasn't the baseball jersey. It was it was in a jacket form, and I was like, I like the sports jacket. So if I was to get like a Letterman jacket, but not, what other options did they have? And they had, because I usually wear like the baseball jerseys and open Hawaiian shirt type. I was like, oh yeah, shoot, I'm in. Let's do this. And it's been the easiest way to identify me in any crowd. So I will have people at FrightReads go, that guy, and run over to me and get me to scribble in their book on the spot. I just need to remember to carry a Sharpie on me.
Right. Well, I saw you at MMC in Baltimore at the Hilton, and you were rocking your your Carpenter jersey for sure.
It's the dumbest thing I own, and I love it.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. Well, one of the other authors that I was excited to see was coming back for September was Jenny Allen.
Jenny,
Because-
yeah.
Yeah, because obviously speaking for myself, she does vampire books, and I wasn't
Yes, she
able to
does.
like really dive in when we were at your first event because there were some other things on my radar and stuff like that. But I'm super stoked that she's getting back involved with the festival for the September show for sure.
Yeah.
To get back over to her table because I bought an amazing like quill pen from her that I'm really excited
Yeah.
about. But I also want to get my hands on her actual like vampire novels and stuff like that because of course that's right up in my alley and stuff like that as well. But I mean,
Yeah.
when it comes, but it's also like just such a cool event too, and like circling back around as well. Like it's one of the things that's always been so rad just about it is that dedication to authors, where they definitely in the con world get looked at as like secondary citizens. So it's super cool to where you're making them the celebrities, and them the feature. And I think that's actually something that's super duper cool. And before I kick it back up to Devil for our final like spin around the table before we let you go, it's right there over your shoulder. The Fangs and Infernos have been able to see it exactly the entire time we've been talking.
I was like, these
Let's talk
lovely
a little
curtains.
bit about Charm City Ghostbusters. What is it about Ghostbusters? How did that movie speak to you? Fill everybody in, ourselves included, on how you got involved in it. What was it about Ghostbusters that spoke so much to you that you needed to get involved with a chapter?
So it goes back. So I grew up with Ghostbusters. My dad had me watch the movies, and I wrote a whole short story about how it messed me up as a kid. But it never made me not like it. I loved the real Ghostbusters cartoon. I thought
Same.
Extreme Ghostbusters was awesome. I had just about every iteration of the video game, which you can't see on camera, but I have them all up there in their cases. I have Sega, NES, Super Nintendo, Atari. I mean, just about everything. The Xbox one. Spirits Unleashed I got as a digital, so I can't display that, but maybe I should buy the box. But yeah, so I had I've always, it's never gone away. And my mom looked at me and was like, if I would have known you still liked Ghostbusters, I wouldn't have gave away all your toys when you were little. And I was like,
That happened to me too.
Yeah,
but-
that's what I always told my mom. I was like, but back then you didn't really have the those toys being there. I'm like, dude, if I had all the Star Wars toys that I
oh
had
man.
and kept them in boxes, I'd be a multi-billionaire.
So
Dude,
I still
had
have some of
Ghostbusters,
mine
I
back
had
there.
Ninja Turtles, I had He-Man.
Yep. I had Power Rangers. I had like all the ones with the little flippy heads when they transformed. You'd flip the button and it just and it would switch to the helmet. Pretty cool
I
for
think
its time.
you squeezed their legs.
Yeah. Something like that. And it was pretty cool for its time, for what it was.
Yeah.
So I had all this stuff. It's all gone. I think the only toys that I have my X-Men toys, Jurassic Park, and a very finite amount of the figures that you can kind of see the people back there. But I got a good like 20 figs. But it just never went away, and it just became a thing that just kind of lingered in the background. And I just remember I was at so while I was in the Army, I was stationed in El Paso, and I went to El Paso Comic Con. And that was my first convention that I'd ever went to. And that was back in like 2011. And I was like, I need to see what this is about. I was going through a divorce. Everything was just like on fire. I just needed to do something that wasn't everything else. So I went to a convention. Now, anybody that knows me in the convention world knows that I dress as Deadpool. So I'm usually Deadpool. And my first costume was the Green Lantern. Go figure. So I had that, and I had Steve from Blue's Clues. They were my two costumes that I wore to this convention, and I had an absolute blast. I think it was this was it the first day I was walking through the hallway of the convention center, and there was a guy in front of me wearing a proton pack, full Ghostbuster getup. And I think I just said out loud, "Holy shit, you can make those." And like I don't know why it never like I'm dressed as the Green Lantern. I have, now I make, I got a whole freaking proton pack behind me. But that initial like that spark of, "Oh my god, you can do that?" So I started like going down the route of like I needed to like I wanted to know how you make this stuff. And the guy was like, "Oh, I'll sell it to you for $5,000." And I was like, hold that thought. It sounds steep, but and it was. You can build one for under $1,000 easily, and that's with like 2011 pricing. So I went to another convention. It was called FrankenCon, and it was awesome. And I got to meet Ernie Hudson there. FrankenCon had Margot Kidder, Ernie Hudson, Doug Jones, knockout amount of people. It was just fantastic. And I looked, and at the back by Ernie, they had the El Paso Ghostbusters. And I linked up with them. Eventually, I built my proton pack, and I built my suit and the whole 9 yards. I stopped being in the Army, came back to Maryland, and I think I was up here for all of a year, maybe a year and a half. And I was at Baltimore Comic Con, and I'm dressed as Deadpool. And Deadpool has a notorious reputation at all Comic Cons. Yeah. I try not to be that. I try not to be douchepool. I'm going to be obnoxious, but I'm respectfully obnoxious. I try to do all the things that would be irritating, and I got the quips and the one-liners, but they're good. And I remember I approached these two Ghostbusters. It was this couple that was walking out of the convention center, and I was like, "Ooh, hey, Ghostbusters!" And they stopped, and they were like, "Oh God, it's a Deadpool." And I was like, "No, time out on whatever this is. I have Ghostbuster stuff. If y'all ever want to get together and do an event together, I'd love to throw on the proton pack for old time's sake, and let's do it." That's literally the inception of how the Charm City Ghostbusters was born. It was just finding that couple. There were a couple other people that were in the mix as well. They were all kind of it was in the murmurs of happening, and then just kind of we all just went, "Let's do it." And Grant already had the Natty Bow Ghost logo without the Maryland flag as a tattoo. And we were like, "Let's just run with that. That's our patch." And since then we were like 6 people deep. Now we're like 51, and we hold it down a good chunk of Maryland. Like we're doing right now, we're fundraising for the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation. We fundraise for American Foundation for Suicide Prevention, which you may have seen plastered all around FrightReads, because that's the one that I back for many personal reasons. And I'm sure most of my staff for the same reason. That's the one that we're like, yep, if we're going to throw money at somebody, it's going to be these guys. And because we do it as the Charm City Ghostbusters, I'm not making my own foundation page. I'm not doing my own walk. I'll just funnel it all into the Ghostbusters and make them look really good when I drop like a $500-$600 donation out of left field. And they're like, oh, and I'm like, yeah, that's right. Number 1 team, baby. Number 1 team. FrightReads alone won't be number 1, but yeah, with the help of the donation from anybody that buys a ticket, that goes straight to them. So if they buy a ticket and there's a little extra box that says donate to the AFSP, that's exactly where it goes to. 100% of that part right there goes right to the AFSP. But yeah, there's just so much that we've been able to do with the Ghostbusters, and it's just fun to just talk Ghostbusters 24/7 with a bunch of Ghostbuster nerds. I can log onto my Xbox right now, and we can play Spirits Unleashed, and we'll just catch ghosts for like an hour and be like, all right, well, good night, catch you tomorrow. We chartered a bus and went to New York for Ghostbuster Day. If y'all haven't done that, find a year to be able to go do it. It is something. We went on one of the anniversary years, so it was kind of a bigger to do. But we were in front of the firehouse. They had the Alessi brothers play "Saving the Day." That's it. They just played that song, and then they were like, "Thank you, good night." I was like, "It's fair. It's the only song that we all care about." But you guys could have played a set.
Oh yeah.
It's fair though. You know where our interests lie. But there were like Ecto Ones out there. They had random cast members. Nobody big. They didn't have Ernie or anybody out there, but they had like the Joe Cirillo, who played the cop, the guy that says, you don't tell me how to do my job, pencil neck. I won't tell you how to do yours. That's awesome. That cop. Like, nobody thinks about that guy. And I'm like, that guy, he wants to come to my event too, but I'm like, I don't know. But yeah, it's just kind of cool to just see that. I mean, as with any fandom, there's all that drama in the middle of it, and there's bickering and beef with other people, and it's just like, y'all, you're dressing up as a 1980s movie. Calm down. It's not that serious. You are not the Ghostbusters, so calm down. Take it down just a smidge.
Yeah, that kind of goes into like what I was gonna say. I talked about with the Ghostbusters, because the last time we went to New Jersey Comic Con, the New Jersey horror festival that we went to, they had the New York Ghostbusters, or at least one of the chapters of New York. I'm pretty sure New York.
Yeah, there's like 3.
There's probably
that
a few.
I know of.
And I was like, man, I walked to them, and stuff like that. I was like, you guys have some really big shoes to fill, because everybody knows that Ghostbusters was New York. So you have like the real Ghostbusters, as we would call it. I'm like, man, everybody else that has chapters, you can kind of be it. But if you're New York Ghostbusters, you have like some huge shoes to fill, you know what I mean? And they were laughing about it. A couple of them you could tell, but a couple of them were playing it pretty good. They had a girl that was like Annie Potts. She was really good at being like, Ghostbusters, what do you want? Like, she was really good.
That's every group they find their niche of what works. And everybody says, which one are you? Are you Venkman? Are you? And it's like, no, dude, I'm Carpenter. You can read the name.
Yeah.
I'm me. None of us play a character except for one of our people who is a Janine, because I feel like you need it's like a legal requirement. You need a Janine, and she does the whole thing that Ghostbusters. What do you want? She does the whole bit too, but that whole Ghostbusters Day in New York is put together in conjunction with the Firehouse and the Buffalo Ghostbusters. So the guys that you said, you better be legit. Man, they take their job serious. They don't play around. I mean, it was such an experience. And we were up there, I think it was just a 2-hour ordeal. And then the music stopped and everybody's like, now what? And I'm like, well, let's go to a bar. And it sounds like the start of a joke. 27 Ghostbusters walk into a bar. The punchline is they didn't know what to do.
Yeah, everybody was like going, He-Man, He-Man, He-Man.
I'm the guy that usually. So here's a fun fact about the Charm City Ghostbusters. Anytime we do an event in and around Baltimore City, which is where we're kind of home based out of, it seems like nobody knows the catchphrase. So it's in the song. Ray Parker Jr. says it at least 100 times in the song. What is the catchphrase for Ghostbusters?
Who are you gonna call?
You'd think that, right? Baltimore City. Their version is, what you gonna do? With the finger guns. You have to have the finger guns. What you gonna do? And we're like, when they come for you? What you gonna do, brother? We don't know what's the follow-up. And we've almost taken it on as our own like unofficial motto. We're like, what you gonna do? And it's just, we had a bunch of new people that are like, you're just messing with us. People don't say that. And this lady came up to us at the end of one of the Suicide Foundation walks in the Inner Harbor. And she goes, oh my God, I'm such a Ghostbuster fan. I have to get a picture. Here, Susie, take my camera. I want to take a picture. She gets in there. I'm a huge fan. I love Dan Aykroyd and Bill Murray. They're fantastic, blah, blah, blah. She's going on about the movie and facts and stuff. And we're just like, yeah, all right. All right, well, let's go ahead and smile. And her friend goes, ready? And this lady finger gunned, and what you gonna do? And the photo is literally two of our newer guys at that time just going, like, did she just say it? She said it. And I was like, we thought you were messing with us. No, dude. So it is a lot of fun. We have our own fun with it. But yeah, I mean, it's any kind of fandom. You know, if you're a gun nut, you hang out with NRA guys. You know, if you're a football guy, you hang out with other football fans. It's kind of that. You know, you go to the bar and you watch all the games. That's kind of what it is to do the Ghostbuster thing. It's just a bunch of guys and gals that like Ghostbusters, and they're just hanging around for a central core idea.
No, absolutely, brother, for sure. And Harry, man, again, you know, on behalf of myself and Devil, it couldn't be a bigger honor and a pleasure to have you on the show, to rock out with us. And the biggest thing that's incredibly important to myself is that you enjoyed yourself, you had a good time, you felt respected, and that you felt that this was going to be beneficial to Fright Reads as a whole and your continued success. But also, before we let you go officially, please let everybody know what they need to know about not only halfway to Halloween, but also September.
Oh boy. So we'll start in order. We got halfway to Halloween. That's coming at the end of April. That is, I don't know when you guys will put this out, but it's in a few weeks. That should be so that should be, generally speaking, in a few weeks. A few meaning more than one. So that is at the end of April, April 26th. That is at Marley Station Mall in Glen Burnie, Maryland. We are hiding kind of near the J.C. Penney's, just directly across from the food court. You come through the food court, you look straight ahead. It just gets spookier the farther you walk in that hallway, and then you'll find us. That is going to be running from noon to 7. That's an all-day affair. Come and go as you please. Wristbands let you come and go. So if you want to hit the food court, come back. Or the other reason to have a wristband are movie screenings. We're going to be playing Blood and Breakfast and Shriek Show at the movie theater.
Chris O'Brockie.
Chris is absolutely fantastic. I had a blast with him at the fall show.
Same.
And he actually came when I worked out the deal to get the movies played. He goes, my, how the turntables. And I said, what happened? And he says, oh, I used to work at that theater, and now my movie's at that theater. So he's pretty excited about it, and it's really cool. We're playing 2 fantastic B movies on the big screen. It is $8 a movie, 14 for the set. You can just see the movies and leave. I don't care. But I would also like you to come down the hall and see all the other cool stuff, or vice versa. You can think about it, and if a movie showtime lines up with you and you want to do it, knock yourself out. Movie theater will have popcorn, snacks, and sodas, and all the accoutrements that are needed, and we'll have a good time. There's going to be a Q&A for each movie respectively with the staff and crew that's on board. That's going to be happening again end of April, the 26th, Marley Station Mall. And then the big to-do, we are going to have Fright Reads Book Festival. That's going to be at the Howard County Fairgrounds. That is the 13th and 14th of September. They're going to be running from about noon to 6 both days. There's some VIP early access if you want to drop in an hour early. Maybe you can get in line, get, half. Like I said, I might need a Segway or a little scooter to get from one end of the building to the other. But just to give you that little bit of extra head start, it's not just the extra early entry. You also get a swag bag and an event T-shirt. Did you guys happen to catch those last year?
No, we didn't actually.
So we have a nice little tote bag that has the Fright Reads, the OG logo, which is the one that we started with, the spider web with the book and all that. Yeah. And then the T-shirt is one of the event shirts. We're actually going to be debuting a new design in another week. Which we'll have for halfway to Halloween to commemorate year 5, year 2 for that event, but year 5 as a whole for Fright Reads. And you pick your shirt size and show up to the event, and there it is. You get a bag, a shirt, and early entry. I mean, that's not too bad. No. but we're going to have that. We have group passes where you can get 5 tickets for the price of 4. So if you could sucker 4 of your friends to Venmo you, you fly for free. That is my sales pitch, and I will never stop giving that pitch. Sucker in 4 of your friends to Venmo you. You buy the tickets, and you fly for free.
Wow.
But under that roof, we're going to have, let's see, we have Patty Mullen. I know you guys are hype. Patty Mullen, Frankenhooker herself. Want a date? Yeah, we're going to have Patty there. We are going to have, let's see, who else do we have? Meow. We have,
Eric,
Yeah, Meow.
Fest.
You talking about Meow?
who do we have? Meow?
Two
You
Yeah,
talking about Meow? Hey, Favre, what's that restaurant we always go to?
Shenanigans?
Oh.
The slam and salmon.
The Slam and Salmon. Well, it's going to get a little dreadful because we have Club Dread's own Eric Stolhansky. I'm actually pretty hype about that because the unfortunate part is I think he's the only actor that didn't show up in Tacoma FD. And I'm actually like a super fan of that TV show. If you haven't watched that, I'm gonna plug the Farva and Max TV show.
I love that.
If you
shit.
like
That show's
Super
great.
Troopers, Tacoma FD is life. But Stolhansky was in a lot of fantastic works. We've been saying the names left and right: Beer Fest, Slam and Salmon, Super Troopers 1, Super Troopers 2, Club Dread, and anything in between. He's got a lot of other projects outside of the Broken Lizard Gang. But Eric's going to be absolutely fantastic. We just announced Jane Jensen. Jane is super cool. She's if you're into the industrial rock era of the 90s and early 2000s, I call it the loud noises era. I'm also a fan, but like it's the loud noises era. It's the digital computery era where they were think 9 Inch Nails turned up to 11. That's the type of vibe. I think it's a unique gothic industrial, and industrial music as a whole is just really unique. You can speak to somebody that does a lot of the music for shows like Grey's Anatomy, 911, which is I think that's still on the air, and still comes out with music. You can Spotify her right now and jam out. It's weird, it's different, but it might be your vibe. But you can meet Jane, who is most known for Juliet of Tromeo and Juliet. So we got that, and then on that's the movie side for right now, and you can always go to FrightReads.com for the latest updates. The book side of the house, we have the wonderful Adam Caesar, who writes Clown in a Cornfield, which will be a movie very soon. Go see it. You will not be disappointed. Read all 3 books. Love everything this man writes. We'll have Jeff Strand, who also, I love everything this man writes. I never knew that he was my role model growing up, even though we're close to the same age. It's like that. There's a wrestler, R-Truth, who says John Cena is his role model. He's like 8 years older than John Cena. Right. He's like, he was my favorite wrestler growing up. That's how I feel about Jeff Strand. I never knew how similar we wrote. There's that self-deprecation. There's that humor where you shouldn't be laughing. There's a lot of things within the writing that were a lot of similarities. Absolutely love that guy's writing. He wrote the novelization of Attack of the Killer Tomatoes because, everybody's been asking for that.
Love Attack of the Killer Tomatoes.
His better half, Bridget Nelson, is a Splatterpunk Award winner who's bringing some really messed up books. She worked I think she was a nurse in a hospital, so she knows what bad things look like and will write them very well. So we have the 3 of them right now, and there are more coming. There's a list of just indie authors out the wazoo. Tons of awesome vendors. I know we have Things Forsaken, who makes awesome movie props. They do their own films.
Dude, those people are so cool.
Ference and his gang are just nuts, and I love them.
The electric chair,
dude. Have you seen their new film that they're working on?
No.
They're working on a movie. They wanted to actually show it, and I was like, as soon as they said we could show it at the movie, it would have been out, but it wouldn't have been enough time. It like just comes out.
Oh.
And we would have been scrambling and making things work. I wouldn't have been able to sell any tickets ahead of time. So, yeah, I was like, I would have, but I think it would have been a bust for all parties involved. What are you going to do? But maybe we'll find a way to do it this fall. But those guys are great. You got the Charm City Ghostbusters will be set up. As always, we have free face painting. I always put the little asterisk within reason. If you want a whole face, you'll have to talk to Jolene about the cost. But everything little Jack Skellington here, something like that, it's completely on the house. I got it covered. And it's face painting for all ages. Wink, wink. Anybody that wants to get a face painted. We have our craft corner. Nikki's going to be able to make some crafts with you. That's just little coloring pages. Get some popsicle sticks, glue and glitter, whatever, and make something. Get creative and just mellow out. I sat over there and colored in a vampire version of Bluey. I was like, I need to take 5 minutes and just center myself. I'm going to color Bluey. Nobody bother me. We have that. Of course, we have the Ecto-1, the DeLorean, the Jurassic Park Jeep. We haven't even announced them yet, so you're hearing them right now. They're going to be April announcements. I'm trying to keep stuff from conflicting with halfway to Halloween because I don't want somebody to show up like, where's the Ecto-1? And I'll be like, fun story about that. Wrong event. So I'm trying to keep a lot of the bleed over and overlap at a minimum. Good thing is a lot of the authors from halfway are also at Fright Reads proper. So thankfully that shouldn't be too big of an issue. But I have to confirm, but I think I may have twisted the arm of Ron Malfi to come down to halfway to Halloween.
I know Ron. I know those guys really well. So does Devil.
I figured anybody in the music world, yeah.
We know our Veer and we love the Malfis.
Oh yeah. I actually harassed him at one of his book events down in Severna Park. He's a good guy. It's like, I think my question was, have you ever written something where you felt like you needed to find Jesus or something because you just went too far? And he just looked at me and went, yes, I have. Like there's always that line that you cross as an author and you're just like, I think I've gone too far. I may need to get some air. I need to go touch grass. I asked him that question. So I love giving him a hard time. He's a good dude. But yeah, I may have conned him into coming to halfway to Halloween, but it's a fantastic guest list. Like I said, the tickets are fantastically priced. I try to keep it cheap enough where you don't go broke coming in the door. Save that money for the authors, save that money for Jane, save that money for, Frankenhooker, save it for littering and
Yeah.
save it for the shenanigans. Save it for the authors, save it for the vendors, all the arts and craft people in there. It'll be a good time. So make sure you visit FrightReads.com. That's the latest and greatest for all of the authors. Our hotel discounts, anything that we're doing will be on the website.
Oh, awesome, man. Yeah, we're definitely looking forward to the events. Like he said, it's such a cool, just a cool atmosphere and vibe of that place. You know what I mean? I love how like everything was just, at the one we went to last year where everything was just so perfectly like, space wise, everybody was super nice. There were, everything was super cool. All the guests were really cool. Just like the whole getting in and out and stuff like that was really cool. So I was like, yeah, I like it. I love the vibe. So I'm looking forward to seeing, what this new, location's gonna bring to the table. I mean, on the plus, like I said, on the plus side, that we already know at least there will be parking within reasonable walking distance versus having to park a while away.
Yeah, the parking. So anytime I did the after event review, like, hey, let me know the things that you hated. Parking was always the highest on the list. And unless I'm building them a parking garage, there's nothing that we can do about it.
Well, yeah.
So short of changing venues, which was my only alternative, which is where we're at. But like I said, the space was great. It's just that parking is just, and it's just it's an obstacle. It's not a deterrent, but it does kind of just like, I guess. And if we have bad weather, then you're walking through the bad weather to the event, and it's a whole thing. So hopefully having the parking lot right in front is something that is a game changer.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah. No, 100% for sure. And again, Harry, we can't appreciate you
Yeah.
and for coming on and rocking out with us tonight, man. We really, really appreciate you guys so much. Fangs and Infernos, you guys are the best. You've given so much love and support to this show, and we can't appreciate you guys enough and can't thank you guys enough to continue with myself and Devil as we build this show onwards and upwards. But it's going to be a wrap on us for tonight. Make sure you guys are checking out everything that Harry told you about halfway to Halloween, and then also the Fright Reads Book Festival later this year in September. On behalf of myself, I'm the Vampire. He's the Devil, but most importantly, he is Harry Carpenter, the owner, the founder of Fright Reads Book Festival. We will see you guys soon. We appreciate you guys so much. As always, thank you so much to our partners, our sponsors, everybody that's involved with the Vampire and Devil podcast. We really, really appreciate you guys. Make sure you guys are checking out rockinhorror.com for all Vampire and Devil merch. We really appreciate Mark and Janet for being involved with us. But we will see you guys very, very soon. As always, horns up, fangs out. We'll see you soon.